good evening. My name is Richard. This is Over and Over and Over Again. We've got a special show for you tonight, looking ahead, obviously, to the weekend's game against West Ham. We've got a West Ham fan, James, joining us. We're also going to talk about, obviously, their big European semi-final coming up this week as well. The two legs, obviously, sandwich our game on Sunday. So a lot going on in the world of West Ham. We will get cracking the other side of this. Over and over and over again. Just as I do that, my camera goes off. Oh, it's back on again now. How you doing? Good evening. My name is Richard, and joining me tonight is James from E20Zone TV. How you doing, mate? So you all right tonight?
I am wonderful, mate. The life of a hammer is buzzing at the minute.
I can imagine it must be. Yeah, obviously a big week ahead for you guys. And unfortunately, you've got to play us in between it all as well, which is a bit, maybe good timing for us in some ways. But anyway, we'll get on to that. Just before we start, obviously, you got your own channel up on YouTube. Just give that a little plug to everyone about
that. I'm a West Ham fan. I'm a Cockney boy, and I've decided to make a YouTube channel. So yeah, I talk about all different things. Very opinionated channel. I like to have opinionated people on there who've got difference of opinion. And yeah, just go and check it out, E20Zone TV.
No, sounds good. Just before we start, I mean, what sort of your history of West Ham and what got you into West Ham? Is it just sort of where you're from? Is that what happened, really?
Family, mate. It was either that or get adopted, and I didn't fancy that. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm a Cockney boy, mate. I got a Cockney family, and yeah, it was either that or become homeless, and I decided not to be homeless.
Probably the right choice, maybe. I mean, I grew up in Hornchurch, so big West Ham area. A lot of people I went to school with were all West Ham fans. So I've always had a bit of a soft spot, really. I used to go up to Park quite a bit with mates from school and stuff, when Arsenal were playing and stuff like that. So, I suppose you have to keep it quiet, but I don't actually mind West Ham at all. I've always I grew up with them. So my sister was a West Ham fan as well. So, I mean, obviously, what I wanted to start with really was, I know it's a big week for you guys, isn't it? With tomorrow night, first leg of the semi-final Europa League. Funnily enough, you play an Eintracht Frankfurt, who you played the last time you reached the European final, wasn't it? You played them in the semi-final, 76. It's just funny how it works out like that, isn't it? I mean, how are you feeling ahead of tomorrow? I mean, you must be obviously excited, but you must be a little bit nervous as well, are you?
Mixed, as you say. I feel that if West Ham get out of the traps early, I think it's West Ham's biggest game for, as you say, like 40 years. Obviously, we got to the FA Cup final in 2006, but for us tomorrow, it's all or nothing. Like this is it. This is the moment. Like if West Ham can get to a final of a major competition, we are literally 90 minutes away from Champions League football, which if you'd have said that to us 2 years ago, I would have probably laughed. Do you know what I'm saying? I thought you was mad. But tomorrow's game will decide how it goes on Sunday for me. Like I think if West Ham come out of the traps and roll Frankfurt, which I do believe West Ham are going to have a right good go tomorrow, especially being at home, fan base, it's going to be pandemonium over there. But on Sunday, I think it's a game. How can I put it? It's a game for Arsenal just to turn up, and as long as they do a job, then I think Arsenal will get something from the game, if that makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it on the channel last night. We're looking into the game, and I think the fixtures come at a good time for us to play you away when you've got a European. It's in the middle of the two European semi-final legs. We've been in a similar situation we were last year. We've been in semi-finals before, and that game in between can be a game that it's difficult to win because you've got your mind on other things and you may be resting one or two players. You've got maybe a few little knocks to worry about and that kind of stuff. So I think the game's come at a good time for us. But ultimately, we know that on their day, West Ham are capable of giving anyone a game, especially at home. So I'm not taking
the pressure. I think the pressure's on you boys, though.
Yeah, no, it is. Obviously, it is in the position that we're in. And I think now for West Ham, the top four maybe isn't a priority now, is it? You've got the Europa League to go for. That's your route into the Champions League, isn't it? As opposed to through the league. You've probably got too much ground to make up anyway, haven't you, realistically now? Yeah,
I agree. I agree with everything you just said there. I think the game is perfect for you boys, and it's just not for us. Like, if someone said to us, like, but then saying that tomorrow night it's interesting because if we do turn up against Frankfurt and say we win the game, just say we win the game 3-0, then like, it changes then. It changes to the league because I think it all depends how the result goes tomorrow night, in my opinion. I think if we lose or draw, then you get a second string side against Arsenal. There's no two ways about it because I think they're going to go for it. I mean, if West Ham come out and do a job on Frankfurt, which I expect West Ham to really give it a good go tomorrow, then it might be a mixed team. Like, but the thing is, we ain't got no centre halves, so like Dawson's out, and so it could be you might be seeing some like academy players playing at centre half, which is perfect for Arsenal in a way.
Yeah, I said I'm quite happy with how the game's fallen for us. Actually, we were looking a few weeks ago, well, a while back, actually looking at the fixtures coming up, and we had Chelsea to play Man United, West Ham, thinking that's a tough run of games. But then we played Chelsea just after the semi-final. We maybe got them on a good night. Man United are very hit and miss at the minute anyway, and now we've got West Ham in between two European legs. So it kind of fell quite nicely for us actually. So that's good news for us, I guess. I mean, what have you made of West Ham's sort of season overall then? Because, you were in the running for the top four for quite a while. I say maybe dropped away a little bit recently, but maybe that's because of the Europa League run sort of gathered momentum, hasn't it? But what have you made of the season overall?
Mixed, if I'm honest. I'm not going to say, listen, West Ham are doing great things, but it could have been a lot better. It should have been a lot better. And I just think if we put our eggs in one basket with the Europa League, in my opinion, I think the Europa League is... it's all or nothing on this now for us. Like, do you know what I mean? Whereas if you would have gone back about 3-4 weeks ago when we played Brentford and Burnley, if we'd have picked up maximum points against them two teams, we would have been in the race for top four. It's just squad depth, mate. I think January was massive for us and we didn't go out and buy anyone. And I think that's the only mistake Moyes has made all season, in my opinion. I think he's done everything good. He's worked with a small squad, but that small squad is slowly... injuries, suspensions now. He's coming right at the wrong time for West Ham. That's why I think really he's putting all his eggs in one basket with the Europa. He knows that 2 ties and we're basically in the Champions League, which is common sense, really.
Yeah, I mean, it is, I guess. I mean, it's an easier, I suppose, technically it's an easier route back to the Champions League, or into the Champions League, isn't it, for West Ham, as things have stood over the last few weeks, I guess. But it's not easy to win the Europa League, as we found out a few times that we've been in it. So, but yeah, I've been watching West Ham quite a lot this season, mainly because, you've been in a position that we've been fighting for as well for a lot of the season. And we're looking at, you've dropped a few points recently, which we've looked at and thought, oh, well, that's helped us a little bit, but... overall, would you consider it to be a good season if you obviously qualify for the Europa League through your league position and maybe don't win the Europa League? Would that still be a good season for you overall?
I think if we finish 6th this season and we get to a final, I think that's a great season. I think if we finish 7th and end up in the conference, I think it affects us a little bit in a bit of a negative way, because the conference is a sort of league that sort of competition that no one really wants to go in. It's not really that high class. And to keep the likes of Declan Rice, Jared Bowen at this club, we need Europa League football, minimum, like in a way. So I do believe that we're out the top 4 race. It's between you and Spurs for that. I do believe 6 is up on offer, though. And I do believe Man United are a sinking ship. And if we can just nick a win or two from somewhere, if we can get in front of Man United, I think they're just going to fall apart in the end. But... this season, if we get to the final, the Europa League, like even if we didn't win it, it's been an amazing journey for West Ham for where they was 2 years ago.
No, without a shadow of a doubt, it has. I mean, just to give you a little bit of hope, maybe we lost the semi-final last year, and then we won our last 5 league games. So when the pressure was off, no Europe to look forward to and stuff, and we had a good finish to the season. And maybe there's a possibility, even if you didn't make the final, you could still finish the season strongly in the league and possibly even push for top 4 still. I mean, it's not completely gone, has it, points wise? No. But yeah, I mean, looking at, you said the last couple of seasons. What's always interested me with West Ham recently is the fact that David Moyes came back to West Ham, didn't he? I think it was a week before Mikel Arteta took over at Arsenal. So they've been at their respective jobs for a very similar amount of time. And actually, they've done a very similar kind of job in a way. Moyes is slightly probably ahead because he got you guys into Europe this season, whereas last season we didn't even qualify for Europe at all. But we reached the semi-final of the Europa League last season. You're in the semi-final this year. So I think, the two managers have done a pretty similar job. We look at their Premier League records over the 2.5 years. It's quite similar. I mean, Arsenal won a few more games, but it's been quite close. I think it's only 11 points difference or something over 2.5 years, which is nothing really when you think about it. I mean, you must be delighted with the job that Moyes has done at West Ham.
I think he's done a great job, but I think he needs help. And that, listen, me and you can sit here and speak about our boards, like Arsenal's board, and especially with GSB in the ranks at West Ham. I think Moyes has done miracles, mate, if I'm being honest. But he needs help. He needs financial support. Like Arsenal spent about 130 million, I believe, in the summer window just gone, and West Ham only spent about 60. And West Ham are in a moment where they should be flying even higher than they really are.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it is about investment. You know, I mean, West Ham did well last year. You got yourself into Europe, and it was a matter of pushing on from there, really, wasn't it? And maybe more investment would have enabled you to do that. But having said that, you've done well this season again, so it's not like it's held you back particularly. And you know, the squad could, you know, your squad is quite sort of hasn't got much depth, a bit like ours really. We didn't spend in January, and we're in a similar position. And we got Eagle Eye Football with Crystal Palace fan in chat. He says, "Good evening, Rich. How you doing, mate?" He's got a question for you there, James. He says, "What striker would you want next season?"
Oh, that's an easy question for me, mate. Man, I've been banging on about for minute one ever since I see him. He's Ivan Toney, mate. Ivan Toney at Brentford.
I've got my eye on him as well.
Yeah, 100%. I like the kid. I think he's a natural replacement for Mikel Antonio. And I've been literally on the YouTube scene with the West Ham side of things, and I've been mentioning this kid 2 years ago. Obviously, he's come through the Football League sort of pyramid, like Peterborough, Northampton, etc. And he's top quality, mate. And Brentford are a very well run club with the signings that they sign, and they sign on sort of like a ratio, like sort of situation where they sort of go like what they're good at and what they're not so good at. And Ivan is the man for me, mate. If West Ham was to go out and sign Ivan Toney this summer, I'll be over the moon. Really would.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. Rich from Eagle Eye Football says that Tony's quality. He is. I mean, what I was looking at really, I mean, I know he scored a lot of goals in the lower leagues. I wanted to see what he could do in the Premier League before I got too excited about whether or not he should come to Arsenal. But having watched him this season, I mean, he scored a lot of goals in a team that have been, you know, sort of bottom half of the league most of the season, haven't they? They had a good start, but they've kind of dropped away where they are. And he still scored a lot of goals from, hasn't he? And he's a danger. He's fast. He can hold the play up. He's got quite a lot of different aspects to his game, hasn't he? And, you know, he is a striker that I would have my eye on for Arsenal, because we need a striker as well, obviously. So, you know, I'm sure we'll be in the market for one in the summer as well. How much do you think he would cost then to buy him? It's
going to be a lot of money, because he's like, obviously, like his contract's well sewn up at Brentford. But for me, he's the man. Like, I think whoever signs him are going to sign a quality player. I agree with what you said about Brentford also. They're at the bottom end. If he goes to a team who are at the top end, I think he gets more chances and scores more goals, 100%.
Yeah. No, I think he would, definitely. I mean, to be fair, I think his goal output's gone up since Eriksen's come into the team as well, because he's got quality supply now. And I think that's, like you said, if he was at a top-end club, I think he'd score 25 goals in the Premier League. He's got the opportunity to do that. So I would definitely, he'd be a good choice. I think there might be a scramble for him actually at the end of the season, because I think a few clubs might be after him actually. But like you said, he's on a contract, and who knows what it'll cost to get him. And can we either of us afford him? That's probably the biggest question, isn't it, really, I suppose?
I think what it is with Ivan Toney, I think what it is with Brentford, they recruit very, very well. Like that's one thing with that club that they do, and that's why they're comfortably going to stay in the league. I think when you look at some of their players like Rico Henry and Bermo, Tony, for instance, they're not no fancy names, but they've got like an ethic where they sign these players for cheap, build them up, and we've got a good, sort of good relationship with Brentford after the Ben Rama deal. So if we was to sign Tony, it cost us say it cost £45 million. I think he's a great signing for 45 million. I know it sounds a lot, but what can you get? Like when you've got a player who you know is going to get better, I think it's a bargain yourself.
And he's played in the Premier League as well. I mean, you buy a player from abroad, and it might take him a year to settle. They might never settle. And you've got that gamble as a player that, you know, he knows the league now. He's played in the Premier League. He's done well. I think he'd be a perfect signing for anyone actually, in any of the top 6 teams really in the Premier League at the moment.
I agree.
But we'll see what happens. I mean, he might be happy where he is. Who knows? He made the interesting video, didn't he, when he said he played for no one exciting when someone asked him who he played for. But you know what though?
He's a sort of player though who might relish the higher grade. Like, do you know, like someone who wants to be the main man. He is the main. Well, he's one of the main men at Brentford, but it's not. It's not that like that milestone. He wants to go somewhere else where he can be challenging. Do you know what I mean? Like Newcastle are looking at him now. Newcastle, he did used to play for Newcastle, very, very young, and it's one of them ones. Like I think he's a sort of player that you go for, knowing that he's got the experience, he's got the Premier League ability. He's a good player, I must admit, he really is.
Yeah, he is, and I suppose obviously the opportunity to play in Europe as well is going to be appealing to him as well, isn't it? To test himself at a very top level in Europe as well. So, obviously us or you or both of us might be in the Champions League next year. That would be a big temptation for him, wouldn't it? Possibly, to step up and play at the top level. But we'll have to see what happens. There's still a long way to go this season yet. Rich from Eagle Eye Football says, what's the expectations for both clubs next season? I mean, I think from our point of view, it depends on which competition we're in Europe, I guess. I suppose it'll be the same for you, will it? What competition you're in and what you're going to expect from the season?
I think if we get Champions League, it opens up a different world to West Ham United Football Club, as in buying players, different level, like Champions League football. That you know it, Rich, being an Arsenal fan, like using Champions League regularly under Wenger every year, and for us to end up in the Champions League with a 65,000 seater stadium full, like even when there's like League Cup games and etc. It's a different level for West Ham, and that's, I think, what it is. This will make or break us. If we get Champions League, or we do win the Europa League and get Champions League, then for us it opens up doors for us for players who we would never dream of signing. That makes sense. So hopefully anything in the top sort of 7, I think I'm happy with at present. But I do think it's going to have to be one of the biggest windows this summer for West Ham United Football Club, 100%.
And I mean, the other thing as well, I mean, we're in the same boat. We've got to look over our shoulder a bit at Newcastle with the money they've got to spend this summer. You imagine they're not going to be shy with spending money, are they? So they could be challenging for the European places next season as well. It's going to make it even harder, isn't it, for everybody? Which isn't going to be good. Rich says for Crystal Palace a top 10 finish. Yeah, I mean, I guess Crystal Palace will be happy with that, and hopefully. That'll be the case. I wouldn't have thought you get relegated because you've got a good manager there now. That'll be fine. The Arsenal Misfit says, greetings, gentlemen, working right now, so listening in. Good to have you on board with us. Shane says, James, how have VAR been treating you this year? I think the table would be very different without it. Well, I mean, it may be. I mean, have you had too many iffy decisions go against you on VAR this season? I mean, we've had loads, but we've had a few.
Yeah, sort of, not nothing too criminal. Like I think at the weekend against Chelsea, I think was a bit like they sent Dawson off, even though it was a foul. It was a foul, but I thought there was double jeopardy in this game there, and obviously not when it comes to West Ham. Do you know what? VAR is a mixed bag for a lot of people. Some people think to themselves, you know what, it's good because it opens up like more eyes on the game. Some people just want to go back to the traditional, if the referee gets it right or wrong. You can't really win. Do you know what I mean? And the problem is with VAR, you could have people in the VAR room, have like 3 sets of opinions, and each one of them could be different. So it's very complex, and I don't think it's going to change anytime soon, right, until something comes into it where maybe even hearing them speaking, like what they're trying to bring in, like, speaking to VAR live so you can hear what they're saying. That might help the situation.
Well, I think it'd help from a fan's perspective because at least everyone would know what was going on and what they were talking about. Because at the moment, we don't really know, do we? I mean, we had a bit of controversy on Saturday's game against Man United with a penalty, the disallowed goal and stuff like that. And it took about 5 minutes for them to sort it out. And it's like, if you could hear what they were talking about, at least you'd have some idea of what was going on. And then suddenly the ref goes over to the screen, disallows the goal, gives us a penalty, and you're thinking, well, that didn't need to take 5 minutes, really, did it? Let's be honest.
No.
And I think maybe with VAR, I mean, I can see the idea behind it, but I think they're using it in the wrong way. It's like, if it's all these offsides, the lines on the pitch, and it's like, there's a centimetre or millimetre between the players. It's like, you can't disallow a goal on that basis, I don't think. You shouldn't really. It should be, if it's clearly offside, it's offside. If it clearly isn't offside, then just give the goal. I think it should just be as simple as that. They should maybe look at the way they're using it.
It's as easy as that, Rich. 100%. I totally agree.
We want to see goals, don't we? At the end of the day, that's what football's about, isn't it? And if you score a goal and there's no good reason to disallow it. Disallow the goal. Don't mess on with all the lines and take 10 minutes to decide. I mean, it's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, I suppose VR's here to stay. I think we have to accept it, don't we? And hopefully they can make a few adjustments to it and improve it, so it's a better experience for everybody. Because at the minute, it seems to be all about the referees, and they're taking centre stage, aren't they?
The only thing I will say about VAR, I did see something the other day, which I understand it from a sort of top six, like, I ain't gonna say top six bias because that's a bit wrong, but sometimes decisions at certain grounds you just would never get. Like, I look at the Everton game the other day. Listen, Anthony Gordon went down and he got yellow carded in the first half, but the second half he goes down and he really gets fouled. And I think if that's Mo Salah going down under Michael Keane, that's being referred to VAR. That's a penalty straight away. Now, one thing I've got to say with it is there's got to be consistency. You've got to be consistent in what you're doing. Listen, it's no different Liverpool to Burnley or Burnley to Arsenal. Can you see what I'm saying? It's got to be sort of consistent each time. And if it's a foul, it's a foul. And that game on Sunday, I watched that Liverpool-Everton game, and Everton were in that game for a long time, even though they was like fighting just for everything. And they get a penalty and they score that penalty, they go 1-0 up. It's a completely different game. It changes their fortunes and it puts Liverpool massively under pressure, but they didn't get the decision. So all I would say with VAR is it has to be consistent. That's the only thing I can say, really.
And I think you're right. It does seem as though certain clubs get more decisions their way in those situations than other clubs do. And, you know, that game on Sunday, I watched bits and pieces of it, and it was quite obvious to me that the VAR, the referees, everybody seems to want Liverpool to win because they want this fantastic finish to the season with Man City again, don't they? They want that. And obviously, if Liverpool drop points, Man City pull away, then the title race is over. They've got nothing to talk about on a Monday night football and stuff. So I think everybody wanted Liverpool to win that game, and it was obvious to me from the start.
Yeah.
And in the end, you know, it's a tough game but they did get a couple of decisions go their way and they won the game. And I can see that happening a few more times between now and the end of the season. I'm glad we're not playing Liverpool or Man City in the next few games to the end of the season, because you don't really want to play them at this point for that sort of reason, really. But we'll see what happens. I mean, VAR, it is what it is. And I suppose in some ways it's improved certain things, but it's kind of ruined a few other things as well, hasn't it, unfortunately, with some of the stuff that's gone on with it. The time it takes is a thing for me. You know, you're in the ground, it's a goal, you're not sure to celebrate a goal because is it been given, they're going to disallow it, and then they take 10 minutes to decide, oh, actually, it's not a goal now, and you're like, oh, brilliant, yeah, thanks for that. But yeah, I mean, a few little tweaks here and there, and we may find it works a lot better. But it seems to work in the European tournaments, doesn't it? It seems to work in European football a bit better. It works in international football, so must just be our referees that maybe we need to look at, perhaps. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, VAR is it's a topic on its own, really, isn't it? I guess, but we'll see. I mean, obviously, you know, after your game on Thursday night, obviously a massive game for you guys. I say we're playing you at the London Stadium on Sunday. Now, we've got an actually pretty good record at the London Stadium since you moved there. We've only lost once in five visits, so we're not doing too bad. Of course, last season's game was quite fun, wasn't it? You were 3-0 up very early on, and somehow we came back and got a draw. I don't know quite how. Antonio missed that good chance, didn't he? I think it was it 3-2 at the time, wasn't it? And he missed a great chance, didn't he, to make it.
Hit the post, I remember it.
Yeah, it's a very strange game that was last year. I can't see it being anything like that this time around. But I say we've got a decent. In fact, we've got a decent record away at West Ham, even at Upton Park years before. You know, it's been one of our sort of better grounds, really. I mean, what do you sort of remember about Arsenal West Ham games in the past? And obviously, we have tended to beat you quite a lot, but you know, it's been one or two probably memorable games from your perspective.
One man, Thierry Henry, used to haunt me, mate. Honestly, in the younger days, that man. Listen, I used to live in North London, and I used to live in not far from Arsenal football ground. I used to live in Hornsey, and I know a lot of Arsenal fans, and I speak to quite a few of them. And Thierry Henry, Mark Overmars, and Bergkamp are the ones that used to ruin me back in the day. Do you know what I'm saying? They were like, Henry was quality. I got to admit, I can't never knock the man. I'll never forget the game at Upton Park. I think it was the year we got relegated, and I think West Ham 2-0. 2-2 draw, and Henry scored that screamer, and that was the year we went down. I think it was 2003, and it was and Arsenal have always been a sort of good side. Obviously, the last sort of 10 years, like, they've not been the same sort of force as they once were, but they Henry and Bergkamp even Ian Wright to a point in the early late 90s, like middle to late 90s, was a menace to West Ham, I must admit.
Yeah, we had a few good games against you guys also over the years, especially at that particular time. But you were actually the first team ever, the first visiting team to win at the Emirates as well. So, you've had a few moments against, and the last visiting team to win at Highbury as well. So that was,
yeah,
pretty memorable for me.
I think that was the end of Sol Campbell. I think for you used that night. Yeah. I think that's 2006. That was, and that was the year we actually come up. We had to come up that season, and we was fresh, and the old beat the first team at the last team at Highbury, first team at the Emirates was the old song that was sung many times.
Yeah. I mean, that was on you because I say it's not often that you beat us, but to beat us in those two games quite strange, really. But yeah, I mean, it's been a good fixture for Arsenal, certainly historically anyway, and I say even in recent years as well. I think you've only beaten us once in the last 30 meetings in all competitions. So, that's on our side. The fact it comes between the two European games is on our side as well. Ryan from Mr. Arsenal Podcast got a question for James. He says, would you take someone like Eddie at West Ham next season as an option for a striker, Eddie Nketiah? What have you made of him?
Do you know, I think he's hit and miss, mate. That's the only thing I can say with Eddie Nketiah. Like, I see him at Leeds, and he didn't do a lot. And then he goes back to Arsenal. He gets his chance, but he's in a good team. Let's be honest, Arsenal are a good team. They're not crap. And I watched him the other day against Chelsea. And he was very good, but he's very inconsistent, Eddie. Now, for me, I have this debate with many West Ham fans. One of them who comes on my channel, and he says he would love Eddie at West Ham, and I'm like, it's just not for me. I think you've got to aim a bit higher than Eddie Nketiah. I think Eddie would be perfect for someone like a Crystal Palace or someone like that, but it's just not for us. Do you know what I mean? I think we need someone stronger who's going to be more sort of like an Ivan Toney, like I said earlier on, like someone who I know is going to score goals. Eddie can score goals, but he goes missing in a few games, and it's an hard one, really. I think he's got the potential, the kid, but he's just inconsistent at best.
I think his problem has been, and I mean, I saw he was interviewed on a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he basically said himself, he doesn't get a consistent run of games in the team. And it's very difficult to build up a goal-scoring record if you're playing one game in 10 and you're on the bench a lot and coming on for 10 minutes here and there. And, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, his goal-scoring record in games he started isn't that bad. It was pretty good for Leeds, actually, because I know he had a good start at Leeds, got injured, and then he couldn't get back in the team because they won a load of games. And it didn't really work. And he hasn't ever got a consistent run of games at Arsenal. He plays the odd game here and there, and he might score a goal here and there. But I think if he had a run of games in the Premier League, if he played 10, 12, 15 games in a row in the Premier League, I think he could probably score 6 or 7, 8 goals in that run. And that's not a bad return. And that's the sort of striker that if you're doing that over a season, you're going to end up with 15, 16 goals in the Premier League, which isn't a bad return, is it? I mean, he's still only young as well. And I think he's going to get better. He will probably leave Arsenal now at the end of the season. So he's going to be an option. And, if he went to West Ham, if he played every week in the Premier League, I think he would actually score goals. And you could say that, would he in some ways be a better bet than Ivan Toney? Because Ivan Toney's just come into the Premier League, his first season. Eddie Nketiah's been around Arsenal for 3 or 4 years anyway, even though he's still quite young. He's played in Europe as well. He's got a little bit more of that kind of experience behind him. And maybe he could be a better option. I'm not trying to get rid of it particularly, but
I think he's a good player, but I just don't think he would suit us. But saying that, as a free transfer, it's a West Ham signing, 100%. Like, if West Ham was going to go out and spend 25, 30 million on a striker, I just don't see it. Do you know what I mean? Listen, I think the kid's good, but I just think he's inconsistent. Like, from time to time, I think sometimes he's there, he looks like a well beater, and other times I think he gets well marshalled out of games. But then saying that, I'm seeing him like a handful of times. Like, from an Arsenal point of view, if he was to play regularly, then maybe he would look a lot better on the eye. Do you know what I mean? But I think he's been in a team where really it's been up and down with Arsenal, isn't it? Like, obviously a Aubameyang going, Lacazette in there. And really, him scoring the other day proved he can do it on a major stage, especially when Arsenal hadn't won a game in 3, I think it was, before they met Chelsea, and then he scores 2. So I think the kid's good, but is he for us? I just don't think he plays right. I just don't think he's what we need. We need someone who can hold the ball up and bring others into play. And Just don't think he's the man for us.
And that's kind of the way that we kind of use our centre forward. Like Lacazette drops really deep, links the play up, and that's not really Eddie's game. Eddie's more of a penalty box finisher. And if you get him into those positions and you give him service, I think he'll score a few goals for anyone in the Premier League. But it needs to be in a system that would suit that style of play. And it didn't, Aubameyang wasn't allowed to really play that role for Arsenal. And in the end, he stopped scoring and left. And I think Eddie Nketiah would suit, maybe with a 2 up front, he would suit maybe that kind of a role where one striker drops in and he can run in behind and he can get on the end of things. And I think he would flourish in that system. We're never going to play that system under Arteta because that's not the way he wants to play. If he went somewhere else in the Premier League, who's going to maybe use it?
I could use this as a dilemma for you, Rich. Yeah? Ivan Toney gets sold. Eddie Nketiah ends up at Brentford.
That could well be what might happen. I mean, that's a potential, isn't it? Obviously, obviously we could maybe try and work a deal that we could throw Eddie into the deal to get Tony, you see. So maybe we've got the advantage there, maybe, to sort that out, mate. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. And I agree with what you said before. That'd be a good move for him, actually. Playing for a club like Brentford, he could play every week in the Premier League. He would probably score a few goals. And I think that could be a good move for him, actually, as well. Crystal Palace, you mentioned him as well, potentially again. That sort of club, isn't it? That sort of mid to sort of not a relegation battling team, but a mid-table kind of club would probably be good for him. And maybe that could be an option for him. We'll see what happens. He may end up going abroad, actually, because he almost went abroad a couple of years ago when Arsenal were maybe thinking of when he was out before he went on loan at Leeds. He almost got a move to Germany. So. There's a potential that maybe that could be revived again for him. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Ryan from his last podcast says there, Podolski loved playing against West Ham home and away. Yeah, he got a few goals, didn't he, Podolski? Theo Walcott actually seemed to score quite a few against West Ham, didn't he? Especially at Upton Park, I seem to remember he seemed to get a few goals, didn't he, over the years?
Yeah, I remember that. And Sanchez was another one and all.
Yeah, that hat-trick he got, actually, that was one of the best hat-tricks in the Premier League, I reckon. That hat-trick he got against you guys at the London Stadium, that was an unbelievable hat-trick. The last goal when he sort of dummied the keeper and dinked it open was
that was our first season at the LS. So I think we've grown since then a little bit.
You have. We've probably gone backwards a little bit probably from that point. With Sanchez and Ozil and some players like that we had at that time. But anyway, we won the FA Cup that year as well, actually. I mean, obviously, talking of goalkeepers now, I mean, obviously, your goalkeeper is obviously an ex-Arsenal goalkeeper. What have you been making of his time at West Ham and Fabianski? Because I think he's a pretty solid Premier League goalkeeper, actually. I always thought he was at Arsenal.
He's been brilliant for us, mate. I can't praise him enough. The only thing I will say is, for how well he's done for us, Fabianski, and he has done really good, don't get me wrong. We signed him from Swansea, I think, for £7 million, I think it was. And for me, his time is coming to an end there. I think Areola is the man for West Ham moving forward. Like, Areola's on loan from PSG, I think it is. And we've got an option to buy him or loan him for another season. And I do feel that Areola should be taken over from Fab next season. I think Fabianski's done great for us, though. He's... when he arrived, I was a bit sceptical, but I've had to put up with people like Roberto in goal and people like that who just had no idea what he was doing. And that season, the season where we nearly went down, it's because we didn't have a proper goalkeeper in our ranks, and the goalkeeper that we had were just not good enough. And we was hoping just to stay in the league, right? And for me, ever since Fab has been at the club, he's been consistent. He's done a few howlers, don't get me wrong, and he's done a few silly little things, but for how well we have done, he's been a part of that. So yeah, he's done great.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pleased for him actually, because I never felt he never really got the first choice spot at Arsenal ever, and he used to come in for the cup games. He played in the FA Cup final and stuff like that, and he always did a good job. Really, I always thought he was a pretty solid goalkeeper. And, he's gone on to have a decent career since he left Arsenal. So I'm happy for him. But I'm a little bit surprised you think he's coming to an end, because he's not that old, is he? He must still be, what, is he early 30s, is he now?
Nah, he's about 37. He's about 37, mate. 37.
Is he? Is he really?
Yeah, he's late 30s, definitely, yeah. 100%. What it is, he's got an option for another year. Because he was going to retire, and West Ham have offered him another year. And what I believe what's going to happen is Areola's going to sign. Areola will be the Premier League goalkeeper. If we get in Europe, Fab will be the European goalkeeper. and that's what I think it'd be. But yeah, he's done well, Fab. He has. I can't knock him. Do I think West Ham need to upgrade on him? Yeah, I do. I think some things he's a bit suspect on, but I do think Areola coming in is just a breath of fresh air for us. It really is.
Oh, we'll see what happens. I didn't realise he was that old, actually. I always look at him as being quite young, because when he was at Arsenal, he was a young goalkeeper. But obviously, he did leave Arsenal a long time ago, didn't he? So I suppose that makes sense now. Terry's in the chat. It says, evening, Richard and James. He said, I'd swap Eddie for Rice and don't want any extra money for Eddie from West Ham. That'd be a good deal, wouldn't it? What would you think about that one? Would you be happy with that, would you?
Not for me, mate. Not for me. Not at all. Declan... Listen, I can't express enough how much Declan is one of the reasons why West Ham are where we are. I think he's absolutely world class, mate. You know what I mean? And listen, people will rave about Declan, and I've watched West Ham, and I've seen some good players come through our academy, but he's by far the best one out of a lot of them, and that's including Lampard and Rio. And I do mean that. Yeah, mate. I think he's absolutely first class. I think the man can do anything. He can play centre half. He can play defensive mid. He can play central mid. He can play attacking mid. Listen, Declan wants to score goals, but his best position is a DM. And I do feel that if he went to a bigger club, like a Champions League powerhouse like a Man City or something, I think he's phenomenal. He does everything. Like, he does everything well. And I do player ratings on my channel, and I think the only time I've ever given him a poor score was once, because I think he was just weren't at the races that day. But every other time I've given him 7s, 8s, 9s, and up, because he's just top class. He's a proper leader. He reminds me of Gerrard to a point. He used to carry Liverpool to a point, and I ain't gonna say he carries us, but he's the driving force. And I did say this a long time ago, when he become captain of West Ham, for how well Mark Noble's done, it's levels. Mark Noble's been there. Declan Rice is up there, and Declan Rice is, I think he is the reason why we are progressing higher than where we should be. Like, West Ham shouldn't be, for the amount of money that we've spent, we should nowhere near be competing for Champions League and things like that. But I do think Declan is a winner, and he's one of the reasons why we are up there.
No, I agree. I think he's a very, very good player. You know, and he's every season he seems to be getting better and better as well, doesn't he? You know, you see what he's done for England as well, and he is a good player. And yeah, I suppose West Ham's problem is going to be going forward. I suppose, you know, if you're not regularly qualifying for the Champions League or Europe, he may be wanting to move on eventually, might need to play at the top level, because I agree. I think he deserves to play at
I think it's not a case of if he leaves; it's a case of when. Like, he's got 3.5 years left on his contract. West Ham won't hold him to ransom, because I think he respects West Ham for taking him many years ago from Chelsea, because Chelsea released him and West Ham took him under our wing. And this West Ham made Declan Rice who he is. Like, also, so Dec's got a lot of time for the West Ham club as a whole. Do I feel that we can keep him? No. I believe that if West Ham get a bid of about 120 million, something like that, I think he will go. Do I want him? But the thing is, with Declan Rice, is the only negative I have. If he ever went to Man United, I'd be disappointed, because I look at it, and it ain't because of Man United or nothing like that. Man United are a poor side at present, and they're going nowhere. If he went to Manchester City, I'd go clap him off, say, you know what, you've just gone to one of the best clubs on the planet. Or you went to Liverpool or Real Madrid or something, or even if you went back to Chelsea, maybe it'd be a bit hard, but you can understand it. But I think if he goes to Manchester United or anywhere underneath that, I would look at it and think, why? Why would you go? Because West Ham are in a better moment than Man United at the minute, and we're a team on the up, where Man United are a team literally in decline. And that's the only thing I would say negative on that. I think if Dec went to Man City, then I do believe he would be top draw for them. Really, really would.
And funny enough, he's a player that they probably will be looking at that position, wouldn't they, in this summer? I would have thought as well, because Fernandinho is apparently leaving and one or two others, so they may well be looking for a player who plays in Declan's position. So I suppose that could be a possibility. I don't think he'll leave this summer, though, do you? I think he'll be there at least this next coming season, especially if you're in the Champions League.
I think it does depend if we're in the Champions League, but I don't know. I think if West Ham get a decent bid for him, what it is, our owners are going to be leaving in 2023. So I do believe that they're going to cash in on Declan before they sell up and go. Now, for me, he's a major asset. Like the owners ain't going to hand over the new ownership to someone who have Declan Rice as an asset. So for me, I do believe that they will sell him within the next 12 months. Now, if we can keep him for another season, I don't know where West Ham can go, but it all depends on the money, mate. If Man City come in, they can afford to go out and spend 200 million like a drop of like a coin in the ocean to them, isn't it? Let's be honest. So if they went out and bought Haaland and they bought Declan Rice, then to me they've just signed two world-class players, in my opinion.
And it's game over for the rest of us, isn't it? Because we've got no chance of competing with them if they do that, have we really? Let's be honest. I mean, Newcastle are going to be an attractive offer, aren't they? Especially if they next season, if they get into Europe next season, then obviously the summer after that, they're going to be attractive, aren't they, for top players as well?
I think with Newcastle, it's a 5-year plan with them. I just think that next season, looking at top 10, then it'll be top 8, and then it'll be top 6, and then it'll be top 4, and then it'll go like that. The only thing is with Newcastle is they can just throw money at it. But is it appealing? Like when you say Newcastle United Football Club, yeah, it's like they've got a load of money, but you've got to get past the top 6 first. And that's like, do you know what I mean?
I mean, Man City were in the same position, weren't they, when they got all their money? Because they wasn't a top club at that point. Do you know what I mean? And,
yeah.
They threw the money around and got the players that they needed, and eventually it kind of paid off. I mean, you say Newcastle top 10 next season, they're going to be in the top 10 this season by the look of things, the way they are at the minute. They're sort of not for the moment, aren't they? So they could easily finish top 10.
But I think what it is with Newcastle, I think the pressure is off them now. Like, I think when you know that you've got like teams that they're playing against, for me, the pressure was off. Like, they could just turn up and just do what they have to do. Like, spending the amount of money they spent in the January window was ridiculous, really. But listen, if they come out and they go and spend the same again, then you know what it's like. You spend the money, you get better players, you're going to get better. So you've got to try and maintain it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time for them, I guess, with the money that they've got. I mean, obviously, like you said, your owners are selling up in next year. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Do you know who might be buying a club, or has that not been talked about too much yet?
Well, what it is, we've got an investor at West Ham who is looking to take over the club now. Daniel Kadinsky, a Czech billionaire. Now, for me, his hands have been tied for a little while, and with GSB, they're not spending the money. Like for where West Ham are like in the position of like bliss, because like for the amount of money that we've spent, and let's be honest, the players that we've brought in to hit the ground running, that all goes down to David Moyes and the backroom staff. But GSB just can't maintain the financial power of the other teams, and I think this Kadinsky can. He needs to get in there, mate, as soon as possible. And as soon as he does, I do believe West Ham can go up to another level. Like, I'm not saying Newcastle level, but I'm saying like a steady, progressing side based in London, and where we can do something. Like we might be able to start winning some like a trophy or something over a period of time. Like last time we actually got to a final of a trophy was in 2006 in the FA Cup, and we haven't done it since then. So Kadinsky has to take over. There's no two ways about it. And I think he will in 2023, because I think that's when they're going to sell up. And when they do, then hopefully, if Declan goes, the money is reinvested and it might boom us up to top 6, top 7 each year, not just a couple of years.
Well, I suppose that's what Liverpool did, didn't they? They sold Coutinho for all that money, reinvested in the team, and have become, one of the top teams in Europe. So, that may be a similar route that what West Ham might go down in. As they sell your best player with a lot of money, buy 3 or 4 players on the back of that, improve your team, and who knows? And at the moment, football's about the investment, isn't it? If you've got the backing of the owners and you invest in the right way, you've probably got most clubs in the Premier League would have a chance of doing pretty well, wouldn't they? with the right investment, right owners. I mean, you know, your owners maybe haven't done that. I don't think our owners have particularly. I know we seem to spend quite a lot of money sometimes, but not necessarily on the right players. But anyway, I mean, talking about it, I mean, what have you made of Arsenal this season? I mean, obviously we've done a little bit better perhaps than we even thought we was going to be fair. 2 8th place finishes before, and now we're right in the running for the top 4. I mean, what have you made of Arsenal? What do you make of Arteta, the sort of style of football that we play and stuff like that?
Inconsistent Arsenal. That's one word I will say. 1 minute they are a powerhouse team, they go through teams, and then the next thing you know, they lose 3 in a row against teams that they should be dominating. What do I think of Arteta? I think he's got the right idea. He just needs time. Like to go eighth, and then to go where you are right now, it's a massive jump, especially with the money that other teams have spent, like Man United, etc. Do I think Arteta's the man for you? Yes. I think he can do something there. I just think he needs a bit of time, mate, if I'm honest. I think he needs time. He's had to deal with a lot. He had to deal with Ozil. He had to deal with Aubameyang. Like, and I don't know the ins and outs. Like, I've only heard snippets of what goes on at Arsenal. But for me, his first season, he won a trophy, didn't he? I think it was. He won the FA Cup. Yeah. So he's done pretty well in a short space of time. He's building a young team. The team looks young. He's allowing youngsters in there like Smith Rowe and Saka and everything. I think I do like Smith Rowe, I must admit. Saka, I think, is a good, decent player also. But he's buying well. But I just feel he's got to get Champions League this year. I think really, if he don't get Champions League this year, considering the position Arsenal have been in for most of the season, where they've been around it, they've been in control of it, they've had the games to be in control of it. If Arsenal get pipped by Spurs, I think from an outside looking in, I think the fan base will look at Arteta and go, "You've really blown a major chance there to get Champions League and give it to your arch rivals, basically."
Yeah, I mean, I think at the start of the season, I mean, we were all thinking that maybe top 6 would be the aim. You know, we bought a lot of young players last summer, and you know we hadn't done particularly well last 2 seasons in the Premier League. So we've maybe done a little bit better at this point in the season than I would have thought back at the start of the season. But I agree, the position that we've got ourselves in, really, we need to finish top 4 now because it's in our hands. You know, we've got ourselves there. Maybe sometimes by maybe a little bit of luck rather than by design. We've lost a lot of games, but everybody else is losing games, and we've managed to just sneak our way in. And yeah, I think if we don't make top 4, especially if it is Tottenham that do get there instead of us, then I think that would be a massive issue, really, because the fans wouldn't get over that too quickly. But Arteta's got a lot of support actually from the fan base at the minute. So, and I think the owners as well backing him because they know he's not going to be demanding a big budget. You know, he won't be demanding. He's not going to be demanding to buy world-class players. He's more likely to say, "I want to buy a load of youngsters again," because that's what he wants to do. I think we need more experienced players. We need 2 or 3 more experienced heads in that group, and I think that can take us forward. At the minute, you can see it's a very young team. Defensively, all youngsters really. And when we go a goal down and when we need to come together, we don't have that experience on the pitch to help us through those difficult times. And that's why we do lose 3 in a row. And that's why we've done that a few times this season, because we haven't got that experience and leadership in the team. And that's what I think we're lacking mainly. Next season is going to be a big season for Arsenal. This summer is going to be big for who we buy and where we go. Because if we are in the Champions League, obviously the extra games, the pressure that puts on the squad, we need to strengthen the depth. I think you guys will, if you get in the Champions League, you're going to have to strengthen the squad depth, aren't you? Because I don't think, you know, as things stand for both of us, really, a season certainly in the Champions League, but in Europe anyway, it does. You need to have a squad to be able to cope with the European games and the Premier League games, plus the domestic cups if you want to throw them in as well. And you need to have that depth, don't you? You need to be able to change your team on a regular basis, on a weekly basis, don't you? We can't do that. You can't do that because we don't have the players.
I think what it is, personally, I think it all goes down to the January window for both clubs. Now, if West Ham get to a final and we lose, people might just look at that January window and say 2 signings change it. Like, listen, as much as I can't stand Spurs as much as you probably can't, I've got to give them some credit. They did sign 2 players from Juventus, and Spurs were nowhere, and they've just shot up into a position now where they're fighting for top 4. Now, has that worked out well for them? Well, yeah, because they've signed 2 players, it's boosted them up. I think when I look at West Ham, I think West Ham and Arsenal missed a trick against to not sign anyone in that sort of January window. Like, I definitely think we did. Like, I look at us, and I think we are hoping to have our strongest team rather than going, you know what, take out a player, put a player in who's arrived, freshen it up a bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it all depends. Like, as we discussed earlier, it's Champions League or nothing. Like, I think if you get Champions League, it opens the doors up for everyone. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
I do. I like Arsenal. I like the way they play. I do like the way Arteta's doing things. I think it's a massive window for Arsenal, like for next season. I think if they go out and sign the players that they've been linked with, I see Jesus was getting linked with Hughes boys and things like that. Then it's a different level. Do you know what I mean? I think Arsenal are 2 or 3 years away from competing for a title, maybe even more than that. But I do feel Arsenal as a top 4 contender from where they were for the last 2 years, finishing 8th and 8th. I've got to give them their due. They've shot up in a bad moment. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
No, we have, and I kind of agree with that. And I do think that we're moving in the right direction. But are we going to be the problem that I can see is unless Arsenal, invest in the team. And I agree with you. January was a massive missed opportunity for us. We got ourselves, at Christmas time, we were on the edge of the top 4 anyway. And it's like that was the time to strengthen your squad in January to really push on and give it a go. And we didn't buy anybody at all. And that has come back to hurt us because Thomas Partey's been injured, Kieran Tierney's been injured, and we've lost 1 or 2 others to injury. Tommy Asu's been out for a while, and you can see it's affected our chances. And we may still get top 4 anyway. But if we miss out on top 4, a bit like what you said about West Ham not winning the Europa League, if we don't get top 4, it will 100% be down to not strengthening in January. That'll be the reason. 100% it will.
Yeah.
And the club need to take responsibility for that and say, yes, we got that wrong. And in the summer, make up for it by investing enough to make sure that next year we can get top 4, we can get Champions League, whatever it is. So, yeah, I agree. January was a big missed opportunity from us, without a shadow of a doubt. And hopefully it won't come back to hurt us. We'll still get top 4 and it'll be fine. But if we don't, then questions will need to be asked. And I think that's they would need to be asked, definitely. Because
I think you get top 4. As an outsider, I do believe. I think the Spurs Arsenal game is a massive game. I think when I look at it, I think Arteta will, if he can go to Chelsea and win the way he did. I know it was Man United. It's a Man United Arsenal game. Let's be honest. It's whether Man United turn up, it's still going to be another game. And also, it all depends how you play against us on Sunday. I think if you come to West Ham and you think you're just going to come there and roll us over, then it's going to be a difficult game for you. So I think Arsenal have to be professional in what they're going to do. Do I think you'll roll us over on Sunday? It all depends on tomorrow night, mate. If I'm honest, like when I do look at tomorrow night, if we win, then we're buzzing, and it's an harder game. I think if we lose or draw, then the focus shifts from we'll play Arsenal, but we're not worried if we win or lose. If that makes sense. So
I 100% agree with that. I do think that. I mean, to be honest with you, even if you win tomorrow, I still think that, you said earlier, if you win 3-0, but even if you won 3-0, I don't think you can take the second leg lightly because you still need to go there and produce a good performance. So I still think that game's going to be more important than the Arsenal game, regardless of how tomorrow goes, actually. And I suppose I might be hoping that's the case because it makes it a little bit easier for us. But, I seriously do think, it's happened before. I say we've been in the semi-finals before, and it's the same thing. That game in the middle is it's a game you want to be cancelled because you don't want to play a game in the middle of those 2 games, really. Yeah. Because it's an inconvenience, isn't it, more than anything? We've had the same problem before last year. We had it as well. So, but yeah, I don't know. In terms of the Arsenal team, which players would you be kind of worried about for Sunday then, assuming that they play? Of course, we don't know what the teams will be yet, but who would you be sort of worried about from your perspective?
Eldegaard. That's the man. That's the man that turned it on last year at the LS when we drew 3-3. I've got to admit, when West Ham played you last year, the first 30 minutes against you boys, it was the best football I've seen West Ham play for a hell of a long time. I think we went through you pretty easy, really, with Lingard and Bowen and Antonio. But Eldegaard turned up, and he's a top player. And I think if we can nullify him, then we've got half a chance. Obviously, Saka's very, very good. Smith Rowe's very good. Martinelli's got the pace. So Arsenal got some good players, you know what I'm saying? But I think if we can stop Eldegaard running the show, then we might have half a chance.
Yeah, he's been. I mean, that game last year, you're right. That was his best game last season for Arsenal. Actually, that West Ham game last year, and he's been in good form. Actually, he's playing really good stuff at the minute. The way he kind of glides around the pitch is just a joy to watch, really. And his product's good as well. His passing's usually pretty decent. He creates opportunities. And yeah, I agree. Maybe if you can keep him quiet, stop him getting the ball is the key, really. I think if he gets the ball, he's going to be dangerous. So you need to stop him getting the ball, stop the supply to him. Him and Saka actually link up really well. Saka gives him the ball a lot, and that would be something that maybe you'd have to look at, maybe to stop that supply from Saka to Odegaard, and maybe stop Saka getting it as well, because that right hand side seems to be where we play our best football. Actually, usually a lot of our goals come from there. So, I mean, what are you anticipating for your defence then? Because you've got so many problems at the back, haven't you? Even for tomorrow night, who's going to play in defence tomorrow night?
I've got a feeling Zuma will play tomorrow. I do. I think he'll play with Dawson on Sunday. Then it's a different kettle of fish. I think we might go 3 at the back against you boys. I don't know why, but I just got a feeling. We've got no centre halves, mate. We've got one centre half who's fit, but he's now suspended in Dawson. Yeah. The other one in Zuma. I think we're going to try and push Zuma to get back tomorrow. And if Zuma don't play tomorrow night, then I think it changes the dynamic for Sunday. I think because we're going to need him to play a game before a big game, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? Just to get him some match fitness. We've got a couple of young lads in the academy who are very, very good. But this game against Arsenal might be the time to sort of put them in there, because they have been sort of knocking on the door, the under-23s. They played in a couple of games in the Europa League this season. And we need a defender, mate. And we need defenders. And the problem is with West Ham, when West Ham go 3 at the back, we're not really the same team. Like when we play 4-2-3-1, that's when we sort of get rolling a little bit. But for me, I think Zuma plays tomorrow. And then on Sunday, I think Zuma might play with someone from the academy. So it's going to be a mixed bag, obviously, with no Dawson.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of played into our hands a little bit, him getting sent off last week really has helped us out a little bit, I suppose. But, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not necessarily anticipating an easy game. I just feel that it's come at a good time for us, and I'm quite happy that we're playing you guys this weekend as opposed to pretty much anyone else in the Premier League that's, would be more focused on that game. So, I mean, what would your kind of score prediction be then? I know, obviously, tomorrow night's going to be probably will maybe change things, as you said, and I kind of agree it probably will do. But as things stand now, what would your sort of score prediction be for Sunday then?
I'm going to say a draw, mate. I think it is. I think what it is with West Ham at the minute, Moyes is very stubborn in keep playing the same team over and over again. I think he's realised now that we're in the semi-final. Right, so he's got to rotate a bit. I thought we'd done well against Chelsea the other day. For 86 minutes of that game, we had Chelsea very much under control. And fair enough, we didn't have a lot of attacking threat. But if we would have got out of there with a 0-0 draw, I think it would have been justified. I think we played all right. The only thing I will say, Arsenal are going to come forward because Arsenal are going to look to try and win the game. It's going to suit us to a point because we're going to really play players to try and hit them on the break. Defensively, Ben Johnson could go back there. We could bring in Elise, who's a young lad, decent footballer from the academy. If Zuma comes back, it might change it around. It also depends on the results. Because if Man United don't get a result against whoever they're playing and Wolves lose, then that top 6 is still open. And West Ham ain't getting fourth. I can openly say that. But I do believe we can sneak in that top 6 ahead of Man United. So we will give you the game. But I think tomorrow's game will weigh up how it goes on Sunday. I think if West Ham do beat Frankfurt and the place is buzzing, then I think Sunday's game will be like, it'd be a game just to go through the motions. West Ham won't want to lose, especially at home. And we've scored in every game at home this season. So I'm going to say a draw for me. I'm going to say a 2-2. I think we score, but I think we concede. So 2-2 for me.
I mean, that wouldn't be a disaster for us, I guess. I suppose in the circumstances, I suppose a draw away from home in a London derby. I mean, I think you're unbeaten in your last 8 games at home as well, aren't you? So you're on a pretty good run of form at home. Obviously, it could be 9 tomorrow night, and then that's a good run of form, actually, isn't it? It's it's a difficult place to go to for most teams now, isn't it? You know, you beat Liverpool, didn't you? At your spot, you beat Chelsea
and all.
Yeah, so it's not. I know the circumstances in this game are slightly different, but even so, it just goes to show that for me, West Ham at home are a difficult opposition, and it's going to be a tough game. I mean, I think we may just sneak it due to the fact that it's come out in between those 2 games, and I think the focus for West Ham is elsewhere. And I think we may just sneak it, maybe 2-1 or something like that, and I think that could be how it goes. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was a draw, and I wouldn't think a draw is a terrible result either. Away from home is a against a team in the top 6 or around about the top 6 is a decent result away from home anyway. So I'd probably take that if I'm honest. But I think tomorrow night will probably tell us a little bit more about what might happen on Sunday, perhaps in terms of team selections and stuff like that. I mean, we're going to pretty much go with our normal team, I would imagine. We don't make too many changes at the minute. We've got a few injuries ourselves, but I would imagine that we'll pretty much be similar to how we played last week against Man United. And if we play like that, we'll have a chance of beating most teams, I would have thought. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm actually quite looking forward to your game tomorrow night because it's good to have an English team in the semi-final. Obviously, we've got 2 in the Champions League as well, haven't we? So it's quite a good. We're doing well in Europe, aren't we? In the last few seasons, anyway, the English team, which is great to see. And it would be great for West Ham to get to the final. And who knows? I mean, first second European trophy in history, wasn't it? The first one for about 50 odd years, isn't it? The last
46 years, mate. So it's been a long time. You know what I mean? What can I say? If West Ham get to a final of the Europa League, it's cloud 9 for West Ham fans. 100%. I think every West Ham fan would agree that we've played pretty well in the Europa League this year. We've only lost 1 game. We lost 2 games. Lost at home against Zagreb in a dead rubber, and we lost against Seville away. But one thing I will say with West Ham at the minute is they've got the vibe at the minute. I think they know what they're up against now. I think they're looking at it and going 2 ties and glory, and that's the way we're looking at it. If we beat Trent Frankfurt over 2 legs, and then we've got a one-off game against either Leipzig or Rangers, it could be the Battle of Britain. Do you know what I mean? Which would be an absolute amazing game to be involved in. But for me, this season's been a joy, but I do feel it could have just slightly been a little bit better in the league. But I think if we win the Europa League, I don't think any West Ham fan would care less. I'm honest.
Well, no, I mean, you're in the Champions League, aren't you? That's the prize, isn't it, for winning the Europa League? Apart from getting a trophy, of course, it's actually a way into the Champions League, which would be, for a club like West Ham, I mean, that would be amazing, really, wouldn't it? When you think of where West Ham have come from as well, to be in the Champions League next season, with, like you said, with the budget that you've had, the players, the money that you spent, I would say actually David Moyes would be in with a shout of manager of the season, wouldn't he? If you win the Europa League and get in the Champions League.
I think if he wins the Europa League, mate, he's got to be up there for the budget that he's had to spend, and the way he has sort of got us to where we are. And I'll be honest with you, we've played 2 good sides in Seville and Lyon, and against Lyon we took them apart in that game, and I was quite sceptical in that game. I thought we could get through, but I didn't think we'd get through the way we did. And I just believe that the players are peaking at the right time. Like, if Mikel Antonio turns up and wants to perform, then we're a false. If he turns up and doesn't want to perform, then sometimes we can go missing. But 100%, Moyes has done great things. And as I say, if he should be up there, but he won't be because it's either Liverpool or Manchester City's manager, isn't it?
Yeah, and to me, that's right. I mean, Pep has got a great record of success. We know that, and if they win the league again, but when you look at the money he spent, does that make him a great manager just because he wins things when he spent a lot of money on the team? I don't know if it does. He's a good manager, of course, but does that make him the best manager? You got to look at what other managers spent and what success they've had on the back of that. And for me, if West Ham win the Europa League, David Moyes should be. I agree, he won't be, but he should be manager of the season because that is an incredible achievement, isn't it, for a club like West Ham anyway, regardless of anything else. But the budget that he's had.
It especially is, mate, considering the amount of money that we've spent, and where we've come from, really. Like, listen, 2 years ago, I'll never forget it. 2 years ago, through a global pandemic, West Ham were playing Chelsea, and if we didn't win that game against Chelsea at the LS, I think we would have been down. And we beat Chelsea 3-2, and we managed to get up and stay up through the skin of our teeth. Don't get me wrong. I think if the global pandemic doesn't come about and West Ham play the game out, I think we go down. And from then on, our West Ham have gone from there to there. And I actually believe West Ham are 25%. Like, I do think West Ham can go up levels. And I just feel some of the players that we've got in our team are pushing us forward. But I think with a bit of investment and some really good, shrewd signings, I do believe West Ham can maintain this for a good while, especially under Moyes.
Yeah, I mean, the progress, like you said, in the last 2 seasons, 2 really solid seasons in a row, isn't it? You know, getting into the Europa League for this season, and then this season, you know, obviously, hopefully getting to the final. But even looking at your league form again, it's been a very, very solid Premier League season again, hasn't it? You know, and there's no reason to suggest that wouldn't be the case again in the future. I mean, obviously, just want to talk to you as well briefly about obviously moving the stadium and stuff like that. I know we've been through that a few years before. I know how difficult it is. You know, Highbury for me still home. I mean, you must still miss Upton Park, mustn't you? Really?
Oh, every day, mate. Every day. Upton Park from my house is like literally 5 stops away on a train. Now, for me, Upton Park will always be home, but I think we've got to embrace it for what it is now. West Ham have moved to Stratford. West Ham are in a ground where they do fill it up like quite regularly now, and there's levels. And could I see West Ham getting a Champions League from Upton Park? Maybe, but very highly unlikely. But listen, Upton Park, for my age, I'm 35 years old. I'll always remember them days under the lights at Upton Park. I think Stratford's getting there slowly, but it's a new generation of fan. That's the only thing I will say. I think it's more sort of franchise, as it ain't like an old school football ground like Upton Park, Highbury, etc. So, yeah, listen, every day is a day away from it. Obviously, we've been away from it for the last 6 years now, and we're at Stratford, and I think a lot of the fan base are happy to be at Stratford now. I think some of them have sort of turned the corner on that. I think the way the move was done by the owners was wrong, like in regards to local businesses and people who live locally to the area. But I think if you asked any of the fans about Stratford now, some people like it, some people don't. But I think if we're winning football games and we win a trophy or something, I don't think anyone would care where West Ham play, mate. I'm honest.
And I think maybe you've done your kind of ground sort of change at a different point in where you were. I mean, we just won the Invincible season. We got to the Champions League final. We had a great team, and we left Highbury. And you know, you're saying would West Ham have reached the Champions League, stayed at Upton Park? You never know. But we were competing at the top level at Highbury, and we've moved away and we've become less competitive, despite having more fans in the ground. So it's maybe the opposite way around, perhaps, for us actually. The way that it's panned out. It's just the way it's gone, hasn't it? You know, West Ham have perhaps been more successful since moving. We've been less successful because we were having great success before we moved. So I suppose it makes it a little bit more difficult. But, I mean, I used to love Upton Park, actually, as a ground. It was a great place to watch football. The atmosphere was always great. The fans were so close to the pitch, a bit like Highbury, but even closer, wasn't they? I mean, in the old days, I can remember you were virtually on the pitch sometimes. You could almost touch the players as they ran past. Do you know what I mean? So it was a great stadium, actually. I kind of quite miss it, actually. And I'm not even a West Ham fan, so I know.
I think what it is when you look at it now and you look at football as a whole, it's changed. Football's changed, as in from like your traditional Saturday afternoon 3 o'clock kickoff, and then by 6 o'clock you're home and you're going out for the evening to do whatever you're doing. When I look at it now, it's like a franchise. Like, it's a big old stadium. It's more commercial and more global now in regards of like a lot of things. And obviously doing the YouTube game as I've done over the last sort of year, I've met a lot of different fans all over the world. And listen, Upton Park was great, mate. And like same with Highbury, really. Like the clock end at Highbury was a magical place. I've got to admit, but it just them times have gone. And I think the times that we're in now, I think we've got to embrace it, But I think when you start making your own history at your new ground, that's when I believe then it changes. Do you know what I'm saying? I think if you still are still in the same sort of lull as you are from the old ground, which we was in it for a little while, and then over the last, say, 2 years, getting Moyes back, sorting out a few issues in-house, the owner's actually allowing the manager to sort of buy the players and run the show, basically. You start making your own history at your new ground. So, yeah.
No, I think you're right, and I think maybe, you know, if Arsenal gets to a point where we can win the Premier League in a new ground, maybe people will think on it a little bit differently, because all our glories come out Highbury. We haven't done anything really since we've won a few FA Cups, but we haven't actually done anything in the Premier League or anything like that. And I think you do need that, don't you? You need those memories to make make it feel more like home, and I think that's what we've been lacking. And we've been there a long time now. You know, we've been there 16 years, so you know it's a long time to feel like that, really. And it still doesn't feel like home. It's a nice stadium, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't feel like home. And you know, I suppose, maybe you have to make your history. You're right. I think that's probably the key to it, isn't it, really? And hopefully one day we will. But I say, you guys certainly are doing well in your stadium. I mean, are you surprised, actually, that you are selling out so regularly? Because, you come from Upton Park with a lot smaller capacity, didn't always sell out there, and suddenly you got to the new stadium. And where's these new fans come from? I always wonder that.
I think it is with West Ham. West Ham's always had the fans, but I just feel like now West Ham are an attractive side. West Ham many years ago used to sign some absolute tosh. Absolute rubbish. And I've seen some rubbish players in my time at West Ham. But I think West Ham are quite a big club in London. Like, don't get me wrong, we've always got to compete with Arsenal and Chelsea and Tottenham and all that. Don't get me wrong, even Palace to a point. Like, Palace are a team that's in transition with Vieira. But for me, when you're in that mix, you're going to be a global powerhouse. Do you know what I mean? I do think West Ham are quite a big side. Do you know what I mean? Do I think West Ham can compete at that level consistently over the next 10 years? Probably not. Because I think other owners and other teams have got a bigger profile than West Ham. But I think the fans are coming. I think the fans are coming. I think a lot of the old school fans left Upton Park, including myself, disappointed. Because I think you could have built Upton Park. It was a very community area. Do you know what I mean? Like the local shops, the local businesses, the local people, and to move anyway is bad enough, but to move into a place where there's nothing around it and you got to walk quite a long way to get there. But I do feel that West Ham is like is a new breed of fan coming to West Ham. Like a lot of youngsters who are following the club. I think Mark Noble's another thing. I think he's coming to the end, but I think what he's doing with the academy and getting them boys, what's the word I'm looking for? Well marshalled, basically, like cleaning up the changing rooms and having a bit of respect rather than having egos. Like at certain other clubs, there's a lot of egos at clubs, and Mark is the sort of person, and it's going to be a sad day when he retires at the end of the season, because he's been there and he's last of the old school, if that makes sense. Last of the old school West Ham lad who's come from Canning Town or Custom House and gone up, played for the team he loved, and he's going to retire a one club man. So I just think there's a lot of fans who's coming, mate, and I do think it's local, it's cheap. Like they've made it affordable pricing for West Ham to get a season ticket in a pretty poor area in Stratford.
Yeah, no, I suppose that's another thing as well. Perhaps, the price. I mean, obviously, Arsenal tickets are ridiculous, and that's why we probably don't always sell out when we're not doing so well. But I mean, it has been. I mean, I'm quite surprised at how the fan base that West Ham seem to have now, because it always struck me. I grew up in the area. Everyone at school was a West Ham fan. It always seemed like a very kind of community club, very sort of local based. It didn't have a fan base from very far out of East London. It was all kind of local, wasn't it? The fan base of West Ham. And when they moved to the stadium, I was thinking to myself, how are they going to fill a stadium that big when coming from where they was? But it's new fans. I mean, Arsenal got the same. We've had the same thing. We've got 25,000 capacity in our ground now, which we do feel quite a lot. So you do get new fans, don't you? I suppose. That, modern football with the TV and stuff like that, I think people tend to look on it in a different way now. Football sort of cool and trendy. It never used to be, did it? It used to be you know, football fans used to be treated like caged animals, didn't they? So now football's very cool, isn't it? And very hip, and everyone wants to get involved in football, don't they? Because that's what's happened, I suppose. So yeah, I suppose that's probably what's happened. And it is London as well. I mean, you know, London's a big city, a lot of people. So I suppose the potential's there, isn't it, for anybody really, any club in London to do well. So yeah, that's good stuff. Just before you go, who's your favourite all-time West Ham player?
Di Canio, mate, for me. Mr. Paolo Di Canio, yeah. Listen, I grew up with Julian Dix. I like Julian Dix back in the day, like middle 90s, the Terminator. But I've got to admit, Paolo Di Canio was special. He's a special player. And I think from where he come from, i.e. Sheffield Wednesday, the incident with Arsenal, funny enough, and so Harry come to West Ham for cheap, and he was a genius, mate. He was top draw. He's passionate. I think that's what it is with West Ham. We like our maverick players. We like our players who give everything for the shirt. And he was special. He was special. I did also like Dean Ashton, I must admit, in the middle 2000s. I thought Dean was very, very good. I think he got injured at the wrong time. Yeah. I think he would have been a top quality centre forward. I really do mean that. And I've got to say, I think Deck at present he's one of the best players I've seen at West Ham for a long time. Like, as in, I've grown, as I said earlier, I've grown up with Cole, Carrick, Glenn Johnson, Lampard, Rio. And I do think he's right up there with them, if not better than all of them. Like, just the way he plays and the way he is. And it's an hard one because when you've seen that sort of talent, and then when we got relegated in 2003 and we lost all that talent, where we are now is quite surreal. So, yeah, it has to be Di Canio, but there's a few players who have been absolutely amazing for West Ham.
No, Di Canio was he was an unbelievable player, actually, he was. But he had that thing he did. That was when he played for West Ham. I mean, when he caught the ball that time when the goalkeeper was injured, wasn't it? And he could have scored, and he just caught the ball. That was pretty cool, wasn't it? You know, not really playing today now.
Everton away, that was, mate. Yeah. He got a rollicking from Harry Redknapp afterwards, but fair play to him, mate. Fair play to him. And do you know what? It's typical of the man because it had to be him. Like, do you know what I mean? I think if that's anyone else, no one would make a big deal of it. But I think because it was him, he was just a special player, mate. And for all the years that we had him, I think we had him for about 4 years. And the year that he left is the year we got relegated in 2003. He was a top man, really top player.
He was. That goal, of course, against Wimbledon will be remembered forever, won't it? That volley. Yeah. One of the best goals ever in the Premier League, wasn't it, as well? So, yeah, no, I mean, that's a pretty good choice, actually, Di Canio. I mean, there's been some great players at West Ham over the years, obviously, but yeah, I mean, he was definitely a special talent, wasn't he? Would it be Declan Rice out of the current team, then? Would that be your sort of your top player?
Yeah, I think Dec's great, mate. But there's a few players who I do like in there. I like Ben Rama. I think Ben Rama's hot and cold with the fan base. I think some people think he's great, and some people think he's not very good and shouldn't be at West Ham. I think Jared Bowen is another one who I believe is getting better and better. And he's going to be. I'm looking forward to next year already with him in the team. But Declan is a special player, mate.
Yeah, I mean, you got some good players actually at West Ham at the minute, which is it must be good to see that team. You know, I say Jared Bowen is unbelievable, isn't he? What a season he's had. What a player he is as well. Fantastic, isn't he? So, yeah, I mean, he's going to get better as well. You see quite a few sort of youngest. They're in the younger age group as well, aren't they? They're all going to improve and get better, aren't they? Even. I mean, Dec's not that old, is he? He's only what's he? 20? Is he 22?
Yeah.
I thought he was about 20. Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's 22 years old, Dec, mate.
Fantastic. I mean, great future ahead of him. He's got anywhere, hasn't he? Wherever he goes, he's going to have a great future.
100%, mate. And listen, like wherever he does go, I think every West Ham fan will applaud him. But I hope it's the right club he chooses. That's the only thing I will say. Like, and that's basically it, really. I think no West Ham fan can begrudge him for what he's done at West Ham. And I think if Dec wants to go to further his career and be a regular winner, I personally feel there's only two teams who he can go to, and that's Man City or Liverpool. I think, don't get me wrong, I think the other four teams are miles away from winning the Premier League. But I think them two, I think if he went to Man City, I think every West Ham fan would say, you know what, go and win things, Dec.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's fair enough. Don't forget, of course, he did score his first West Ham goal against Arsenal, didn't he? A few years ago, I seem to remember. That was his first goal, wasn't it? That one against Arsenal that time.
yeah, it actually was, mate. Yeah. Yeah, that's his first goal.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, so hopefully he won't score another one this weekend from our point of view. Terry the Techler says, "Great show, Richard and James, much appreciated, and welcome back, James. Anytime by me. Never known a West Ham fan with brains. Well, there's a few out there. I've had a couple on the channel before. We love West Ham.
Cheers, Terry. Thank you very much, mate.
But no, I mean it's been great chatting to you. Actually, it's always nice to get other fans. Actually, one question I want to ask you, because I've asked every other fan from every other club I've had on this season: would you take Arteta as your manager if the option was there?
Yeah.
You would?
I would, mate. I do believe that. Listen, I think what it is.
Ahead of David Moyes.
I think Arteta's got the right plan. He's got the right idea. But what it is, the difference between Moyes and Arteta is Arteta's got the financial power, whereas Moyes hasn't. I think Moyes is doing great. Don't get me wrong with the players that he's got, but I think Arteta's got the pulling power. He can attract players to the club. Can Moyes attract these top-end players? I don't know. I think he can make players, Moyes. I think he can make Jared Bowens and people like that. And listen, I think David Moyes has been great. But I think Arteta, for what he's done in 2 years, if he has to get Champions League this year, there's no two ways about it. I think if he doesn't, personally, I think the fan base will look at him and go, where's this going with him? Like he's had a couple of windows. Yeah, no, he's won an FA Cup, but where the position at Arsenal are right now, they should get in that top four. There's no two ways about it. If they win their games and they don't lose against Spurs, they're there. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I like Arteta. I do. But I think Moyes, if Moyes had the same financial power as Arteta, I think I would keep Moyes, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if Arteta went to West Ham, he'd have the same kind of spending power as Moyes has got, wouldn't he? Let's be honest, probably. So, I mean, it's funny enough because most people I've had on the show from other clubs have said that they like Arteta, they rate what he's doing, but they wouldn't want him as their manager, which I find quite strange, actually. Because I don't believe Arteta's the right man to take Arsenal forward. I think his lack of experience, he's too inflexible tactically, he's very controlling of everything. He stands on the sideline all the time, shouting and screaming at the players every single minute of the game, pretty much. And I think he can take Arsenal to a certain level. He can get us top four, get us in the Champions League. Can we win a league title under Arteta in 3 or 4 years' time? I'm not convinced that we can. Actually. But
I don't know though, Rich, because I look at it like this. With him, he's up against two powerhouses at the present who are 5, 6 years ahead of Arsenal. I think if Arteta was to go out and spend well, sign the right players that he needs, and every season improve, then I don't see how he's not. If Arsenal was to go and get another manager, I don't think they could go and do the same amount that fast. If Arteta's in charge, I think you can. I think you can build it slowly. I think the Premier League's evolving though. Also, I just look at it that he's up against. Let's be honest. Next season, he's going to have Newcastle in the frame. He's going to have. We're going to be up there. Hopefully, there's going to be other teams like Leicester are going to will sort themselves out this next season, and that's why the Premier League's the best in the world, mate. And I don't know. Can I see Arteta winning the Premier League? Probably not. I agree, but can I see him winning stuff? Yeah, I can. I think he's the right man for Arsenal right now. I don't think there's anyone better out there who could take Arsenal and go wallop unless it was like Guardiola or Klopp, in my opinion.
Well, I think Guardiola and Klopp would need more money than we're giving them, I suppose. That's the other issue, isn't it, I suppose, as well. But no, I mean, to a certain degree, I kind of agree with you. There isn't probably many managers out there with the kind of financial restrictions maybe that we've got in a certain degree. We're not going to go and splash out like City do, like Newcastle are going to do, or something like that. So, maybe that's a fair point. My dream is obviously Patrick Vieira at some point coming back and being manager. That would be the dream for me if he keeps doing well at Palace. Maybe that's going to happen at some point. But, I mean, I think, we are getting there slowly. But unfortunately, Man United are going to have their new manager coming in next season. They're going to be stronger next season. You'd imagine, as you said, Newcastle are going to be probably up there challenging next season. It's harder and harder every year, isn't it, to keep yourself up there without massive investment coming in all the time, and it's hard.
That's why Premier League's the hardest league in the world, mate. Because let's be honest, any number of teams can win the Premier League on a good season. So I understand what you. Yeah, Leicester did it in 2016. I've got to admit, listen, I know Man United are getting a new manager, but I think it's going to take a lot for them. Do you know what I mean? And as I say, I think with Arsenal at present, I think if they get Champions League, they sign players next season, I think they will be looking at third, not fourth. They'll be going, right, we've got to aim for third because we finished fourth last season, we need to improve. And then if they was to finish third or higher, they'll be over the moon with that, I believe. And then the following season after that, so that's 2 years down the road, they might look at it and go, we can challenge. Do you know what I mean? So it's a work in progress.
That sounds. I'll be quite happy with that if that was to be the case. Actually, I mean, I'm not quite sure if that's how it's going to work out. Just because other teams are going to probably invest more than we will, and I think that ultimately is probably going to decide.
I think Arsenal, if I'm being honest, I think from an outside looking in, I think Arsenal need 2-star signings. They need someone who's going to bang in goals, and they need that sort of like a midfielder with Partey. I think Partey's good, but like just for argument's sake, if Arsenal went out and signed someone of a high caliber type of player, like a Jonathan David, or say they went out and raided City of a couple of players, it'll improve Arsenal. There's no two ways about it. But I just feel that Arsenal are a work in progress. 1 minute they're good, 1 minute they're inconsistent. And I think if it's going to happen with a young team, but if you get your likes of Tierney, Smith Rowe, Saka, Ben White, all emerging together, then in a couple of years' time, you might be a force. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I can see the potential. I 100% can see the potential that we've got, but are we going to be able to? I think we need. You're right. We need a goal scorer. There's no doubt about that. And I think we need strength in midfield. But I think we just need more experience in the squad. Rather than buying 22-year-old players, which is what we've been doing, we need to buy a couple of 26, 27-year-olds, maybe even 28-year-olds to come in just to give the squad more experience and more depth, and they can help the young players develop, but hopefully a bit quicker, because at the minute they're almost lost sometimes, and they've got no one to turn to because they're all youngsters themselves, aren't they? And that's the problem we've got at the minute. But I mean, you've kind of convinced me that maybe things aren't as bad as I've been thinking they are. But it's like anything, isn't it? We haven't won the league for a long time, and for a club like Arsenal, it's too long. This is the longest spell. In fact, if we don't win the league this season, which we can't now anyway, so it's going to be the longest spell between winning the league that we've had since the 1930s. So it's a long time, and it's not great as an Arsenal fan to. But
then the best way of summing it up, though, Rich, if I'm honest, look at Liverpool. It took one good transfer. It took one good transfer window. They went out and bought Van Dijk and Alisson. Don't get me wrong; they signed well. They had a plan in place, and then within the next few years, and let's be honest, Liverpool should have won the league more than they have. They've been up against a powerhouse in City, where I think it was a couple of years ago, they literally went on the same points, and I think City just blasted them out the ground with the goals. So it can happen. It's just, I think it's time. I think you've had some trying to replace Wenger was hard. I know he comes to the end and he had done his time, and I get it. Don't get me wrong. He got you to fourth, but then the Arsenal fans were just tired of it now. There was no progression. Obviously, you had Unai Emery in there, who didn't really do. I don't think was an Arsenal type of man. But they've got Arteta in it. Arteta knows the club, and at the end of the day, if Arteta's there for 5 years, and in 5 years you might be able to do something, and that's even in the Champions League, I think Arsenal fans would accept that, mate. Because there's levels. There's Liverpool, City, and then there's the rest. And I think the rest are miles behind them two clubs.
At the moment, they are, definitely. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. I mean, you talk about Liverpool, obviously, it was that one transfer window when they really took that step. But don't forget, they had a very, very good, experienced manager as well, didn't they? Who knew how to win trophies. He knew what it was about. He'd got them to cup finals before that. And, you could see what was going on with that. And, Klopp's an exceptional manager, isn't he? And Arteta may become that in years to come. Who knows? He's still very young. He's still inexperienced in the job. But I think that was Liverpool. Obviously had a good window or two, good windows. But they had a very good manager who knew what he needed to do. A winner. He's a winner essentially. Klopp, isn't he? He was always a winner, and you can see that he brought that in. And the same with Pep. Pep's a serial winner, isn't he? And that's and Arteta hasn't got that background, has he? Because he hasn't done it because he's not been a manager before. And I suppose. That's a big difference as well. And I do think that makes a difference. You can just see You know, even you got managers like Conte at Tottenham. He's in early days there, isn't he? But you can see what he's doing already at Tottenham, and you can see that if he's given time, because he knows how to win stuff, he knows what it's about. He's won the Premier League.
Well, let me ask you this, Rich. What would convince you that Arteta is the right? What would convince you in a way that you think, you know what, Arteta could be the man?
I think first of all, it would have to be the sort of players that he buys. At the moment, he's buying very young players, and which they're going to be. Some of them are going to be really, really exceptional in the next 2 or 3 years. There's no doubt about that. But if he starts adding in those experienced players into it, starts building a squad that you can see is able to compete more consistently, that would be the first thing I would think. Right, yes, I can see what he's doing. But if he's going to continue to buy young players, I've just got a slight worry that a lot of the experienced players that we had, the people like Aubameyang, Ozil, one or two others, he's got rid of them because it's like he can't deal with these older experienced players.
Yeah,
he did well with the young players at Man City when he was there as coach. The young players loved him. He did a really good job with a lot of them young players, Raheem Sterling when he was young and that kind of stuff. So my concern is, has he got that ability to get these experienced players, get them on his side? You know, he's got Granit Xhaka who he's worked well with, but he needs to get 3 or 4 more of them type of players into the squad. And if he can do that, and if he starts doing that this summer, and then I can see next season the progress. Again, as you said, inconsistent, a young team, you get that, don't you? And if I can start to see that he's got these experienced players in, and maybe we can start to be. I mean, we're losing too many games. We lost 13 in the Premier League last season. We've lost 11 already this season. We could lose 13 again by the end of the season. Who knows? And to me, that's too many defeats. We've got to start. I'd rather draw a few more games. If we next season, if we lose maybe 10 games or 9 games, you can see there's a progress there. And you know, we're turning defeats into draws and some into wins, and that's the progress that I want to see. At the minute, it's like this season, although we're higher in the league and we've got more points, we haven't really made massive strides. We're still losing too many games, and I want to see that.
I think when you play the top 6, that's when you see if Arsenal can maintain it. That's my opinion on that. I think when you play the big 6, that's your Spurs away, your United's away, your Liverpool's away, your City's away, Chelsea's away, etc. I feel if Arsenal can turn that corner and start turning them losses into draws or draws into wins, I believe then you will see a new Arsenal side.
That's the sort of thing that I'll be looking at going forward. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, in the last couple of years, we've got maybe slightly better results against the bigger teams than we did maybe in the last few years of Wenger and under Emery. You know, we've beaten Chelsea a few times already in the last couple of years. We beat them the other day. We beat Man United quite regularly. But yeah, away from home, we always lose to Liverpool. We always lose to Man City. We always lose to Man United, it seems. And, you know, we need to, and Tottenham we always lose to. So, yeah, I want to see progression there as well. And these are little things that I'll be looking at next season. And if you can start to see these things improving, then I'll start to believe that maybe Arteta can do it. At the moment, I'm unconvinced because of all these things that, you know, he's had 5 transfer windows, Arteta, and he's got rid of a load of players that he didn't like, and he's replaced them with young kids who are going to be good, maybe, if they stay. But it's getting that balance still for me. He hasn't quite got that, has he? And that's why we're still. I mean, we've lost as many games as you have in the Premier League, I think, and we've lost as many games as Crystal Palace, and they like in about 12th, 13th place. And that's the issue for me. We need to put that right next season. I'm not going to necessarily look on it badly if we finish 5th or we finish 6th next season. If we've only lost 8 games, I mean, we used to finish in the top 4 under Wenger. We'd lose maybe 8 games in the season. We'd draw a bundle, we'd win a few, and that's it. And if I can start to see that, we're becoming more difficult to beat. You know, this season we've lost to Southampton, we've lost to Brighton, we've lost to Crystal Palace, we've lost to, you know, we drew with Burnley. We've dropped so many points against the teams at the bottom of the league. Norwich, we scrambled a 1-0 win at home against Norwich and stuff like that. And what we used to do regularly was we'd beat all them teams home and away, and then we'd struggle against the big teams. And I want to see us do that again. Beat all the bottom half of the league, beat all them twice, every single time we play them, and then pick up the odd result against the Liverpools and the Man Cities and stuff like that. And you can see a progression. Can you say, we're on the right track now? But we need the experienced players, I think, more experienced players to do that, to be able to, and maybe better quality players as well, players that are ready straight away now. You know, we've got, you mentioned Ødegaard, he's going to be a great player, and he's a good player now. But probably in 2 or 3 years' time, Saka, in 2 or 3 years' time, is going to be world beater. There's no doubt about that. Smith Rowe, in 2 or 3 years' time. What we need in those 2 or 3 years is to get players in that had a finished article now, that can come in, improve the team straight away. And if we do that, we will get better, and we could challenge. This is why the next sort of transfer window in the summer and maybe next January as well is going to be key to see where we're going. And the direct. That's not just our. I think that's the owners as well. The direction that we want to take the club in. Are we happy just to try to scrape into fourth place with a young team, or do we want to build on that and take us to the next level? And whether Arteta is going to be able to do that, if he's got his hands tied behind his back financially, he's never going to succeed, is he? In that sense. Yeah. And maybe if they only want top four, because that's how we used to top four under Wenger, maybe that's all they want. If that's all the club wants, maybe Arteta will stay like Wenger did for 20 years, just keep getting us top four. But as fans, we want a bit more than that, now. We want to see some trophies. We want to see us challenge, not necessarily winning the league necessarily now, but at least making an effort to try to challenge for that. I can't remember last time we were top of the Premier League, like halfway through a season. It'd be years ago. You know what I mean? I want to see us being up there again, because that's where I feel Arsenal should be. That's my ambition as a fan. It should be the ambition of the club. It doesn't seem to be, but we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe we are on the right track. Maybe we are. And we'll see in the next couple of years. If we're in the top four this year, Champions League next year, then we got something to build on, haven't we? And I think that's going to be key to go forward. But we'll have to wait and see. Terry says, I wish I had James's faith. Yeah, I mean, he's convinced. He's been quite convincing, actually. I'm always convinced now. Terry says, if he left now, got to the top of his game because his man management is crap, and then came back. Well, I don't think that would happen, would it? I think if he goes now and has success somewhere else, I don't think we would take him back. It doesn't tend to be how it works generally. I know Moyes went back to West Ham, didn't he? But managers don't tend to go back, do they, once they go usually? Not at a big club, not often. So, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how Arsenal develop under Arteta, if he's given enough time in the next couple of years to see where it can go. I'm just at this moment, I'm not 100% convinced he's going to take us above the top four kind of level where we've been. I'm not quite sure yet, but let's wait and see. It's interesting times ahead, I suppose. Anyway, obviously we've got obviously you've got a big game tomorrow to worry about first. I mean, I can sit back and relax and enjoy watching it. You've got the stress of you're going to be there, I'm assuming, are
you? No, I won't be there tomorrow, mate. I haven't been to West Ham in 6 years. I haven't since the new ground. So I'll be in a local pub watching the game. Yeah. I have said it many years ago that I would not go to the ground until the owners are gone, and I am adamant on that, mate. So yeah, I'll be watching it in the local pub, mate, and cheering the boys on with everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to be a good game. I'm sure it will. And I'll say I'll be definitely cheering for you guys. I mean, I've always had a soft spot for West Ham anyway. It's where I'm from. So I'm hoping they do well. It'd be great to see an English club win the Europa League again. That'd be nice. And hopefully we may meet you guys in the Champions League next year, maybe at some stage. That could be nice, wouldn't it?
Let's hope so, mate. Let's hope so.
That would be the ideal scenario, wouldn't it? Well, thanks for coming on the channel. Just give your channel a plug again. Where can people find it?
E20Zone TV, mate. Put that in YouTube, and you'll find me over there talking all things West Ham, all things football, really, and give my full and opinionated opinion on West Ham and what's going on at the club at present. So yeah, check us out over there on E20Zone TV.
Sounds good. I say make sure you go over there and give that channel a subscribe as well, because good stuff that is. Well, I say thanks for coming on, James. Obviously, enjoy the game tomorrow if you can, and Sunday. And I say hopefully, who knows? We might be meeting in the Champions League maybe one time soon. That'd be nice. We shall see what happens. Good stuff. I say thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure. What's coming up on the channel is what's coming up. Not a lot at the minute actually. I'm down in London at the weekend for the Arsenal women, so I'll be doing some live stuff from there. And we won't be doing the normal Friday show until Monday due to the fact that we're all travelling about the country. So that'll be on Monday. But Sunday from the ground, I'll be doing some stuff from there. The Arsenal women against Aston Villa, so that'll be good. And then we'll be back on the Tuesday show next Tuesday as well for the usual look back on West Ham and looking ahead to next week's game against Leeds as well, which is going to be an interesting game as well, I'm sure. Just a couple more comments. Terry says, will Zacharias or Martinelli going to want to stay or win things if win things? Yeah, I mean, that's a good players want to win things, don't they? Same with Declan Rice, we mentioned already. And Terry says, yeah, cheers, James. Nice to meet you, mate. Good luck tomorrow. Indeed, yeah, good luck to West Ham tomorrow. Definitely, we want to see West Ham going through. We'll all be cheering for them definitely tomorrow. So, yeah, I'll be back on Sunday. So some live stuff from the game. And then obviously we'll try and do a bit of coverage of the West Ham. I might actually end up missing most of that game because I'm watching the women at 2:15. So I'll still be at the ground probably when the Arsenal game kicks off, unfortunately. But I'll catch up with it anyway. But I'm sure it'll be a good game, and may the best team win. As long as it's us, then that's the best scenario. But as long as you win your European game, you won't mind too much.
Exactly that, mate. I really couldn't care less.
That suits us as well. So that's the ideal solution. West Ham get through to the final. We beat you. We finish top 4. It's all good. Brilliant. So I say thanks for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. So good luck for the rest of the season. Good luck for tomorrow night in particular. And I'm sure we'll speak again very soon. Thanks to all you guys for watching as well. Your comments and your questions as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out E20Zone TV as well over on YouTube. Some great stuff over there as well. So that's it for tonight. Thanks guys for watching. Thanks to James, brilliant guest to have on. As I say, we look forward to the game on Sunday. In the meantime, of course, as always, come on you Gunners, come on Sunday. Let's do this. See you later, guys.